What is the magic bullet for happiness?
Don't take anything personal. Everything in this
everything
life,
personal. What are you talking about? Everything.
nothing personal. Everything comes, everything goes. There's a lot of people that will say stuff about you. A lot of people will have opinions about you. And a lot of the time, it's just a reflection of them as themselves, or the things that they don't have going on with themselves. To be able to understand that, nothing's permanent. Nothing's going to really last forever. In a couple of decades, nobody's going to know my name. You know what I mean? To be able to be happy in the moment, I think you have to smell the roses now before it goes dry.
Hey, let's go.
So, hey, everybody. Thank you for having me again on the Outloud podcast. I was kind of honored that you guys asked me to come back on. You don't see too many two-time episode type of guys. So it's a big accomplishment in my life. But the real honor is to introduce this next young man. And, we've been going up to Pine Ridge doing our Football for Life camp since 2017. And almost instantly, I started hearing about the Jet. It was almost a legendary status from the kids at our camps, and the Jet is here, the Jet's at Black Hills, and just hearing that name, kind of clicked with me. And when I finally got to introduce myself to him and research a little bit about him, he was not only a great athlete, but he's an outstanding role model for the kids on Pine Ridge. And it's been an honor to get to know him a little bit. And I think he'll be a great client for you here on the Outloud podcast. So Eriq, the Jet Swiftwater, is joining us live from, are you in Rapid right now? Are you in?
No,
in
I'm
Wyoming?
actually in Gillette right now. We got off practice.
So there he is, Eriq the Jet Swiftwater.
Good. Well, welcome, man. It's really good to have you on, and we're really excited to get a chance to talk to you about a million things. And I'm sure we're going to get up and down and all over some good conversations. But welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on, because I know you got a lot going on, and our people want to hear all the cool stuff too. They're down for all of it. But tell us what fun stuff you got going on, man.
Well, hi. Thank you guys, first of all, for having me on. It's a great pleasure. It's been a long road to get here, but my name's Eriq Blair Swiftwater, but I've gotten the nickname Jet from my grandpa, who's passed away, but he was able to catch one of my last football games, and he came off of the sideline after the game, and he patted me on the back, gave me a big hug, and he said, "Man, you were running around like a jet out there." And after that, the name kind of stuck. So it's been Eriq Jet Swiftwater since I was a sophomore in high school. But I was born in Rapid City, South Dakota. I grew up in New Underwood, South Dakota, kindergarten through 7th grade. At my 7th grade year, we had some family issues go on. Me and my 5 siblings were sent into foster care. We spent half a year in foster care, and then my grandma was able to get full custody of us. And it was then when we moved down to Pine Ridge. Well, Oglala is where I'm from, but I say Pine Ridge because not a lot of people know, outer towns of where Pine Ridge is at. So I kind of generalize it. But if we're going to get specific, I'm from Oglala, South Dakota. And from there, I went to school, got off the reservation, and sports, man. I had a lot of stuff going on when I was growing up. And I mean, as a troubled teenage boy, you don't talk about those things, you kind of bottle them up and keep them inside. And for me, it was always, I'm going to play sports. Sports is how I'm going to talk about stuff. And it's been my biggest expression for as long as I can remember. If I'm mad or if I'm frustrated or if I'm sad, I can go pick up my ladder, I can go pick up a ball or something, and I can go express myself through sports,
Nice.
But from there, I went to school at Black Hills State University. I was able to get an athletic scholarship along with multiple academic scholarships to go up and play football up there. I spent 5 years up there. I graduated with my bachelor's of science in sociology and a minor in psychology. After college, I was hired to become a special teacher at Lower Brule at Lower Brule High School in Lower Brule, South Dakota, where I was going to be teaching intro to psychology and intro to sociology for the high school seniors that would have been accounted for their college credits. In the middle of that summer, before we were about to start school, by the grace of God, I got offered a professional football contract, and I had to kind of talk to myself, and I said, I can come back and I can be a teacher, I can be a coach for the rest of my life, but there's not a lot of time that I got to, pursue my full athletic potential. So if there's any chance, I got to do it now. And through that chance, I ended up getting signed down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to an actually different team. But as the summer went on, I ended up having my firstborn son, Rocky Swiftwater.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So in the midst of him being born and all this other stuff thrown around, I had the opportunity to get signed to another team, which is out here in Wyoming, Gillette, Wyoming, the Wyoming Mustangs. And I had to make a grown man decision. It was, do I want to be 18 hours away from a phone call, or do I want to be 2 hours away from a phone call? Right. And that's ultimately what it came down to. So it's a little bit of sacrifice, a little bit of give and take, but I'm happy with the position that I'm in. I'm happy where everything has led me so far, and I'm excited to see what else, where else I can take this and what else I can do. You know what I mean? With what comes with professional sports is a lot of publicity, whether it be negative or positive. But at the same time, I'm at a pinnacle now to where I can kind of start doing my own thing and making my own businesses, my own names, which I'm excited to talk to you guys more about.
So just to circle back a little bit, are you the oldest of the 5 kids, or are you the youngest or the middle, or where do you stand?
Oh no, I am the second oldest. I have an older sister, and don't get me started on my older sister. My older sister is she's superwoman. She stepped into that mom role when we didn't have a mom.
She
was Cera Swiftwater. Cera Swiftwater. She's a quick little resume of hers. She graduated top of her class in high school. She went to college at Minnesota Moorhead. At there, she graduated at the top of her class there, got to give a speech at her college graduation. She stopped 2 years into her college, went off and did basic training for the military, became a military police, came back, finished her degree, had her first kid. In the midst of having her first baby, my niece, she got her master's degree, full doctorate finished, and now she's a full sociology worker up in Minnesota right now.
Man.
All right. Well, hey, do me a favor. Let's get her on.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Eriq. We'll see you later, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, honestly, my older sister doesn't get enough credit for all of the things that she does. I'll go up there, and because my older sister is the first college educated member of our entire family. So I came through and I kind of followed those. So when we get together, it's a little, well, I know this, and I'll kind of puff my chest at her, but she'll come down and she's like, no, actually you don't. And she'll kind of set me back on my heels. So It's nice. She's always been a rock for me, and she's always been that close knit for me, but she's the oldest. I'm the second oldest. I have a younger sister who was also a college athlete, Reagan Swiftwater. And I have 2 younger brothers, all raised by, we had a stepdad, but we had stuff go on, and then went back with my mom, and my mom and my grandma kind of raised us all 5 of us. And thankfully all 5 of us graduated high school coming out, 2 of us done with college, and the other 3 are going through it now. So I give the women in my life a lot of credit because of the weight that they've had to bear.
So where does all the educational fire that you guys seem to have and done some amazing things by, hearing your sister's story and stuff like that, and you got another athlete, Reagan, I believe, and so where did that all start growing up? Where did the emphasis on education come?
Well, I can't speak for anybody else in my family. I mean, my sister was always the ones in the books. She was always the ones my older sister, she was always the one, top of her class doing all that. So that was kind of natural for my sister. But for me, I mean, I always hate to admit it, but I'll be honest. Like I did school because I got to play sports. That was my drive. Like I knew I had to be good at school because I needed to play sports. And with school, everything just kind of came natural. I think that's one of the things that was passed down in our family is we're artistic, or we can calculate things, you know what I mean? And all of our siblings, we all have a unique set of skills that all kind of translates in that area. It's just a matter of us willing to pursue it. I feel like that's with a lot of kids, though. Don't get me started on what the school systems need to be after studying it for a long time.
Yeah, we'll get there too. Yeah, we're gonna get through you a little bit more, but I will definitely talk about that stuff because our connection to you and in the Football for Life way is, meant a lot to all of us in terms of being, having an insight that we would have never had in our lives, and we're grown coaches. We've been around and have done a lot of things and been a lot of a lot of different environments, coaching different types of kids and different cultures and all that kind of stuff. But what an interesting thing to go onto the reservation and just have an opportunity to see a bunch of kids who were fired up and ready to go, and we were doing so little, we were doing so little for them, and they had such great appreciation for it that, it's what endeared me to Joe and the program. And again, we'll get to that some more. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, I just am, we meet all these people and they have these fantastic stories to us. So like we're listening to these stories and we're going, whoa, this is outlier status. This is way on the edge at the top of the pyramid, whatever you want to call it. And not very many people are able to tell us what they think that the success is. Or they don't want to say it. They don't want to be brag. They don't want to talk about themselves. But unfortunately, you're the star here. And what would be, besides, is athletics the key cornerstone to all of this success? Or is there something else that drives you? Is there some kind of character thing that you were raised with that, that allows you to, go to Washington? Hopefully we get to talk about that later, be an ambassador for companies, play professional football, have a degree.
Yeah.
Because, let me just say one more part of it before you answer. I think a lot of people have certain preconceived notions about being on the res, that it's not a lot of success stories coming out of there. So what's the key to your game? What do you,
it's my support system. I see you see a lot of broken homes, a lot of abandoned dreams, a lot of people left with, people who didn't do stuff, you know what I mean? And it rubs off. It's kind of like a culture. And I was raised in an environment where my mom and my grandma said, well, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Like, you're not abandoning this halfways. And it wasn't critical criticism or critical hard love. It was hard love, but there's still love. It wasn't just all hard. It was encouragement. It wasn't, oh, you can't do this, or you don't want to do this, so you're just this, you know what I mean? It was, you can do this, here's why you can do this, and you're going to continue to do this. I growing up, it was, for the first 12 years, it was, you're a mistake, you're nothing, you're this. That's all I heard for the first 12 years of my life. And I had to I still kind of do compete with that voice inside of my head. And it does add a little fire of it. But as I grew older, I started to learn that I can't use that for all of my fire. That can't be the only reason why I'm doing things, because it's selfish at that point. And at some point, you run out of reasons to do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I still do have my drive, but I have a tattoo and I write it on my wrists before every game on my tape. It says, for me, for us, because everything that I do is for me, but in the end, it's for us as a family. Because I feel like when we got split up in foster care, that was the first time any of me and my siblings were separated, not only from each other, but from my mom, from our relatives, from our grandmas, you know what I mean, our aunties. That was the first time that we had ever been off on a loan. So when we got back together, it was kind of like, man, I don't want to lose you again. Right. I know what it's like to not lose you. You might get on my nerves. You might annoy me sometimes. But at the end of the day, I don't want anybody else annoying me or pushing my buttons like you. And that for me alone was enough to be, okay, I know what I want to do. I know how I'm going to do it. And I know that I have the people behind me in order to get to where I need to go. But my grandma and my mom, all of them, my older sister, the first thing that they stressed to me especially was about the education. Like they knew that I wanted to be sports, that I wanted to do something out there, but they made sure to stay on top of me about getting my education, because one day my body isn't going to work the way it is right now. One day my limbs aren't going to be like that,
Right.
but my mind will be here. My mind will be here and my mind will carry on. So that's one thing that they've always instilled.
Cheers to that. Yeah, for sure.
Man. I love it. I mean, it's just so interesting to talk to you. I have a lot of similarities. I was raised by a single mom, had a couple stepdads, but it was always that strong female. And I always tell my friends, I say, you can be the toughest dad as you want to be. You can be the tough guy with your son. You can grow him up rough and tumble, take him hunting, whatever macho thing you want to do. But if the mom isn't tough, the son isn't going to be tough. And it sounds like you had that situation with your parents, with your mom, particularly with your grandmother was a huge influence in your life. And it makes a lot of sense to me. For me, football was the only reason I survived in high school. Cause I was just like, I knew that I could get out there at 3:00 or whatever, and I can have that sanctuary and I could whack somebody and I can get some energy out that I didn't have to do in the alley. I could do it on the field, and for me, that was enough. I just knew it, and in these COVID times, it's hard because some of those kids didn't get to have that outlet. And I couldn't imagine that for me, for sure. Were you able to play a whole season this year, or is it abbreviated season?
This year, 2021, we've been able to play a full year so far. But in 2020, I was kind of playing around with some amateur leagues. That's actually how I got signed to do my professional, because I was a year out of college at the time, and I was just playing just to play. It was full contact football, but we weren't getting paid or nothing. But through that league, somebody just happened to come down and find me playing at a game and said, "Hey, I think you're pretty good. Do you want to sign?" And ended up going from there. But that year we only played like maybe 5 games or 6 games, I think it was. Or
that must have been
like
hard for you.
Oh yeah, and especially coming straight off the quarantine. I mean, like the quarantine happened in March. We didn't start playing until like maybe the midst of July, August, and the whole time we're sitting there like, no gyms were open. Nothing was really going on. I get a call one day and they were like, "Hey, we're going to play." And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll play. You know what I mean? So going out of there, we had to take a lot of precautions. I mean, it was like a weekly swab up the nose. Yeah. Don't even get me started on the swabs up the nose. We have to do them up here pretty frequently. And I'm just sitting there every time, like, just don't touch my eyeball.
That's awesome. I mean, so did you have other people besides your family sort of impacting you on your journey as a teenager? I'm a high school teacher. I coach high school. I'm a psychology teacher, by the way, in high school, just so you know. If you ever need any lesson plans, Coach Willig is a high school coach.
I thought you were going to say if you ever need any more therapy. I was like going to go down that. No.
Hey, would you mind talking to me for a little while? I'm a little while.
No, this right here is therapy, to be honest. And I think that was another reason why I was more open to coming on and talking about a lot of things, especially when you sent me the outline of what we were supposed to be talking about and stuff like that, is that just talking about it step by step, even if it's just a little bit here or a little bit there, it doesn't have to be the full story, but getting those voices or those words out of your head is enough for me to start becoming more comfortable with those things inside of me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, then tell us then a little bit more about growing up and starting to play ball and figure things out. You went through this deal with where you guys were in foster care and came back, and take the story from there and kind of, build up your playing days and what, how playing football was part of your deal.
Yeah. So when we moved down to the res, I kind of had a decision to make. It was, do I want to go to Red Cloud High School, Pine Ridge High School? I kind of had to make that decision. And after about 26 miles away from where I lived, 26 miles, they had a school, little tiny school, maybe the smallest school. I graduated with 12 people, if that puts it into perspective on how small it is. We had about 50 people all in the high school. So it was fairly small. It was off the school, but all the kids that I ran around Oglala with that were going, they were like, "Oh, we're going to go out here. We're going to go out there." So I kind of followed my friends out there. And me and my friends, we played basketball day in and day out. You couldn't find us somewhere without basketball. We were always doing stuff. So I just initially went out there, and my sophomore year of high school, they co-opted with another high school, which was, so Oryx is 26 miles from Oglala, but the high school that they co-opted was 23 miles from Oryx, Hot Springs High School, which is a Class A 11A football. In Oryx, we played 9-man, but that year we didn't have enough people to fill a whole football field, even for 9-man. So we co-opted with Hot Springs. So my daily routine was woke up at 6:30, got on the bus, drove 26 miles to school. At 7th period, I would get off and we would drive 23 miles to Hot Springs for football practice from 4 to 6, get off football practice and drive all the way back to Oglala and make it happen again. And, you
had no time to get into trouble.
Yeah, honestly, I really didn't. Like, I was constantly moving, and there is a lot of stuff that does come around, but with everything that I had going on, I had constant basketball tournaments. I was always doing something. Like, I was always active. We were always doing something. And it just wasn't something that my specific friend group, it wasn't something that we were intrigued by, I guess you could say. Like, we always demonized, we're not going to go out there and party. We're not going to go out there and do those things. It just wasn't who we are. We just wanted to find a car, find our mom's or somebody's car we could take, and we would throw in $5 in the car, go cruise around and just hang out. You know what I mean? I kind of miss those days because, the older you get, a lot more complicated things we get. And I think back, like, man, first of all, $5 in the gas tank. Wow. We got it everywhere. And now, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but I couldn't be more thankful for the opportunity that came upon me to go play football in Hot Springs, because Hot Springs is one of those towns where that football culture is there, where the whole community shuts down on a Friday night and they all say, we're going to the football game. We're going to be there at the football game. So every Friday night, stands are packed, the lights are on, you can smell the grass, and it's just hard-nosed South Dakota football, you know what I mean? But through that opportunity, I got to meet probably one of the most impactful male role model figures, father figures, to be honest, that I've ever met in my life. And that was my head coach all throughout high school, is Benjamin Kramer. He still calls me to this day, asks me how I'm doing, asks me how football's going. He was the first coach that I had that was, he understood how to coach me. And I was a pissed off teenager. That didn't know why things went on. You know what I mean? I didn't understand what happened when I was younger.
Weren't we all? I think we all were, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he took the time to say, hey, breathe. It's not like that. But he explained it to me in a way that it didn't sound like he was, demonizing me, making fun of me, or belittling me when he talked to me. He talked to me with respect, and that's something that I didn't really come by a lot. Back home, it's, I'm gonna show you how to do it because I'm better than you, or I'm gonna show you how to do this because I'm tough, or I'm this. There's a lot of ego that gets floated around, and it makes younger boys feel like they have to act tough, or they have to be this big macho, nothing bothers me, I'm the best there is kind of man. And that's just an unrealistic way to be raised. And I've thankfully been able to learn enough to see that, because it's toxic masculinity is what it is, really. And he kind of showed me that, there's a different way to be a man. There's a different way to talk to another man. And he was able to show me a lot of that, while also kind of learning me myself, because I was a handful for a while.
That's awesome. I mean, it must have been those ladies in your life that kind of smooth those edges around a little bit, probably, right? Mom and grandma and sister.
Yeah.
So
100%.
How did you get there every day at 6 o'clock in the morning? Did your mom give you a ride, or is there a bus, or how did that work?
So yeah, the school, that Oryx High School, they were actually about to get shut down because they couldn't get enough kids there, because they're a podunk country school out here. But they got permission from the res or from the state, I can't really say for a fact, to come down and bus kids from Oglala to Oryx in order to keep their school up. And I believe they also got like a couple grants or something like that in order to come get us and stuff like that. So they would give us a bus from and to and from school every day and practice.
Wow.
That's fantastic. It makes a difference, man. And I it's fun that you talk about your coach. We're all coaches, and you know, we've been coaching for 30 years and have all kinds of experiences where, you know, those are the things we remember. Those are the connections and the relationships that we have, and you know, and they're real men relationships like you're talking about, you know, and the ego is set aside, and you know, we love each other up and make sure that you know, we in that love we get after each other and make sure hold each other accountable and stuff like that. But man, it's a respectful deal. It's a way of life, and it's real neat to hear you talk about it, almost talking in our language and you're talking in your own language about it. You know, that's sweet.
One of the greatest things I've ever heard is that when you're coached by somebody that you truly respect and that you truly admire, they're called coach for the rest of your life. They will always be coach. And he's one of those guys where I'll call and it's, hey coach, what's up? You know what I mean? I could never even imagine calling him, hey, what's up, Ben? You know, that's not something I could see myself doing.
Yeah. Well, we just ask everybody to pay it forward, man, for the rest of their time, you know, find a way to pay that shit forward, you know. And
Joe has his hand up, Chuck.
Hey, what's up, Joe? See, that's a whole new. That's a whole new
I'm a
move,
teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to see if it worked. Well, you know, I got a question for Eriq, because Sam Bravo, who we all know and love, had some really great stories about playing in hot springs. And I'm not going to relate them to some of our the most flattering, but obviously you had a great relationship with your coach. But overall, how was everybody out? How did everybody else treat you there? Because I know there's a little bit of animosity in those type of towns, that you could say, towards the res sometimes.
Well, was it off the reservation? It was off the res.
Off the res.
My
high school and where I went to high school.
Wow.
Right.
Okay,
well,
I didn't know that.
We're familiar with Ulrich's. We stay at the Prairie Winds and we go right by Ulrich's, right? And,
Yep.
So we see that all the time. But you know, on Hot Springs, we go up to Hot Springs when we're there, and you know, it's completely different than the reservation. So I just wanted to get your take on that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, at first, I mean, I was too young to tell anything from the coaches at all, but from the players and from like my peers at the time, it was kind of like, oh, who are these kids? Especially, I'm not blind. I don't appear as the darkest kid you've ever met, but it comes out like that. And
it doesn't matter when they saw you run. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. But that was another one of those things. It was kind of just like a territorial kind of thing. If you're going to come on my turf and you're going to act like you're this and you're that, of course they're going to show a little feedback. But honestly, from the community and the coaches, it was a full embracement. I mean, I guess it helps that we were making plays for them and you know, catching touchdowns and helping them win games. You can't really argue with that. So
did you feel conflicted at all? Did you feel conflicted at all with that?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, to me, it was just football. You know, when you're that young, you don't really think of stuff outside of it like that. So for me, it was just going somewhere else, putting on a helmet and pads and, you know, running with it, because it was still the game. It was still the game of football.
Nice.
Right.
Nice. Tell us what position you play, what you do, what's going on. How's your season going so far? Tell us a little bit about
that. I'm a wide receiver DB. I came in as a wide receiver, kind of been flirting around over there, but they needed help on the defensive side of the ball. So I've been able to transition to the starting strong safety, and the game plan for this week. Good thing this isn't coming out for a week. I'll be moving to corner. I'm going to be playing some cornerback this week. But one of the things about the coaches that they've said this whole time is I've been very coachable, and by that is I don't really have a problem with where you want to put me on the field. I just want to be on the field. I think it speaks volumes to my passion and my coachability. You know, I've learned a lot. You know, I don't think you should go anywhere or go through things without taking lessons from where you go. And you know, there were times in high school where I got mad and I would have something go on, or I would, even in college, I had a lot of that stuff going on. So being able to grow, I'm a man now, and, you know, I have no excuse for a lot of things. I don't take excuses. So I listen and I hear everything that everybody has to go on. And I listen before I speak. I want to fully evaluate things before I give a input. You know, I don't allow my emotions to come into a lot of things. And I think it's been showing now, because I'm extremely coachable. I listen to everything that they have to say, and I just told them I want to be on the field. However I can get on the field and play, that's all I really care about. I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what I'm here for, and wherever they choose to put me, that's where I like to be. You know what I mean? And plus, it's nice. I've been playing wide receiver, tight end, a little bit of a hybrid like there, even in high school and then all throughout college. So when they asked me to play defense up here, I kind of, gritted my teeth a little bit and got a little anxious because it was a nice change of pace to hit somebody and not get hit all the time. So,
well, Eriq, I'm a free safety. Joe's a free safety and Chuck's a corner. So you're in good company. Anything you need.
Oh yeah, we're talking to a good group here.
Yeah, man, you're all right here. You're good with us.
Yeah. No,
I love the concept of listening and learning and taking. I love the idea of 2 ears, 1 mouth, even though I talk so much. Like that was my grandfather's big thing. Don't be the smartest guy in the room. 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen twice as much. And, really, it's amazing how far that goes. And, when you're a coach and you have girls, I coach softball right now. So I have these girls maybe are pouting over certain things, or they're a football player pouting. He's playing a man's game in high school, but he's pouting because he doesn't get to play, what he wants to play or get the number he wants to get. It's super refreshing to hear a guy that just loves the game so much. You just want to play it till the wheels come off. And my hat's off to you. I'm glad you're able to work that out.
Awesome. Yeah, Thank you. I appreciate that. I will say though, I don't know how it would have went if I didn't get that number 5. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
They were going through numbers, and I've known the coach, and I was like, so about that number 5, because I've had 5 ever since I started playing football. It's been kind of crazy. It's been kind of crazy how well I've been able to keep that number. I got a towel that says J5T on it. That's kind of like my nickname. I put J5T on everything because the 5 kind of replaces the E. So it's kind of like my brand right there. And I'm like, I would look weird putting a J5T towel with like 12 or something on. You know what I mean? So I was kind of adamant about that. But I think if the number means something, then it should go somewhere. But at the end of the day, I mean, I was thankful enough that I got the starting position on both offense and defense to where I did get the right to the number first. So I kind of worked for it. I did work for it. Not kind of.
Well, I bet number 12 would look badass on you anyways, man.
Now number 13.
I'm guessing that's your number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening on the audio, we all threw up our
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I am so enthused about hearing your, it sounds like one breakthrough after another, to really take the high road in a lot of ways. And I think we applaud you here that that's what we want people to hear about, but I know the journey, is there's a lot of challenges and stuff that go on that you've gone through and that the reservation has gone through and our interest in trying to bring some of that to life. We know the suicide rates have gone, skyrocketed during the pandemic, but had been on the rise significantly, for a long time. And I know it impacts, people that and people that you've been involved in and the depression that people go through. And, can you talk a little bit about that and what that means to you? Because I know it's something that you're interested in, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it means the world. It kind of relates back to what I was saying about, speaking is healing. I've had siblings attempt. I've had attempts myself, and to be in a position to where I can actually have a helping hand in stuff and being able to be a voice, because I know what it's like to be in a position where you don't hear anything but negative voices, or you don't hear anything but all of those thoughts that you keep drowning in. And I know what it's like to feel that helplessness, or where I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, or I don't see what they're all saying or they're hearing.
Can you describe that a little bit more in detail, how that feeling is? Because in regards to what was the despair and stuff that, permeated, some of your thoughts and feelings that, that you're talking about?
I had a lot of stuff that had been haunting me that kind of still does haunt me, from whether it was my past, my childhood trauma, the way I was raised in a violent home, a very violent home with no, like I said, I was told for the first 12 years of my life that I was a mistake, that my mom left because of me, or that I was the reason everything went wrong. And I was punished for it. And it was a living hell, I'll be honest.
Who did the punishment come from?
A stepfather.
Okay.
The father figure that was supposed to be the main caretaker of the house. And it was a constant thing. So growing up, that was all I heard. That's all I was surrounded by me, you know, to come home to the quote unquote father at the time, especially as a young boy, as an adolescent boy, I just gotten into sports, you know, coming home and saying, Dad, I did this today. I was doing this today. And to be discouraged, to be punished for even trying to say anything about yourself was detrimental. And I didn't realize at the time how deep those roots were being dug into me. And it wasn't until I got older and going through high school, it was, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to play sports. I don't need to talk about it because I'm playing sports. But as I got older and I started going through college, I kept noticing, I got into my psychology major, sociology major. I started being able to pinpoint how these things were coming out and where they were coming out and how I kept being able to shell those things. My constant need of approval from everybody else. And when you're seeking approval from everybody else except for yourself, you're always going to be let down. And I constantly found myself looking for happiness within myself from everybody else around me. And I never found it. And it just kept leading me down this dark path of, man, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing something right. It's me. I'm the problem. And if I can't fix it, then where am I going to find that solution? And I had to dig a lot into myself and, you know, unbury a lot of stuff that I chose to keep hidden for a really long time. A lot of stuff that I didn't want to talk about. But after a while, it was, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not progressing. And I can't keep scaring my family like this. I don't want to have them crying for me. You know what I mean? That's not something that I'm looking for them. And after, you know, seeing my family's faces after the incident, it was just kind of like an awakening. It was like, okay, something is telling me that I need to be here, because if it wasn't the case, I would have succeeded. So obviously this isn't the choice that I need to be making. So how do I progress? How can I improve on those things? You know what I mean? What do I need to work on internally to ensure that not only am I being better for them, but for myself? You know what I mean? You can't be better for anybody else. You have to really do it for yourself. And that was kind of the thing that spoke to me. And I think sports kind of were kind of a crutch for me, because that's how I covered up stuff. But once stuff started building up inside of me, I noticed that my sports started dipping down. My performance started coming down because my mind wasn't fully there. My mental wasn't all into it. You know what I mean? And you have to have a clear mental in order to have a clear game. You know what I mean? So it took a lot of deep dwelling and diving and awakening a lot of stuff that I was scared of, that I was fearful of, to really grow past. And I'll admit, I'm still not past a lot of the things that have went on. I don't think you ever really are. I think you just become more content with not understanding that you can't understand why things happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I feel very strongly that, you know, that has made you stronger. And I'm wondering, I would like to ask a weird question. If you had not gone to that, what we'll call rock bottom, do you think you could have achieved the things you have achieved and promise of the things that you are going to achieve that are even higher? Can you take that journey without having rock bottom? Can we talk to the kids and say, hey man, you don't have to go there to go up. It's not like a bouncing ball. You can just work your way up slow and steady. Or do you believe in your heart that, you know, that was sort of a reckoning day for you, that, you know, at that point, there was no other choice. The choices were gone.
No doubt, 100% a reckoning point. And I do feel like I wouldn't have been able to overcome a lot of the obstacles or conquer a lot of the things that I've been able to do without those things in my past kind of being there, because experience is knowledge. And I would hate to talk to some kid back home especially, and say, you know, it gets better, it's really going to work out, and not have any idea what they're going through or what's going on to them. You know, what helps me a lot is that I'm able to, I may not relate to completely everything that's going on, but at least I'm not just blowing smoke. You know what I mean?
I don't want to misrepresent. I don't want to misrepresent. I'm not saying that kids need to go out and do something drastic so that they can have a better life. I'm saying that because of you, there's somebody they can talk to now. There's someone that they can walk a path that, you know, that is similar to yours, maybe with sports, or they can do something like your sister did with the books, or they can do something like your mom did. But, you know, like, I don't want to misrepresent. This is not a path that everyone needs to take. This is what happened to you, and you're thriving now, as far as I'm concerned. But that's not the only way. Would you agree?
Yeah, of course. Definitely not the only way. And I think that's one of the things that has been able to help me, is that I've been able to kind of pave that path. My grandma said it to me when I was younger. The hardest part about paving a path is you have to work out all the curves and bumps in the road for other people to have a smooth road. And the only reason you have to be able to do those things is because you are strong enough to take on those things. And some other people may not have that self-encouragement or that self-fight that I have in order to get through those things. But I want to be that for somebody, because I know what it's like not to have that.
The voice, being of that voice is really important. And, you know, and I think that there's a way to reach out and prevent kids from going down a darker road than they need to.
Absolutely.
By speaking to them, you know, and that's, you know, listening really closely is the key. And then being able to offer what you heard in a way that, you know, can help people is the next move. And I think that you have, you know, you have every right and every ability to go out and do that. We're glad that we can share some of that here now. What do you think are the things that need to be done to reach down and reach out and help? Where do you want to put your voice, and what do you think the at-risk kids are that will most benefit from what you're talking about?
Can you re-say that? Sorry.
Just what are the kids? Yeah. What's the message? What do you take out of it to go? I'm going to talk to kids. I want to have a voice, and this is my message, because you can not go there. What do you think's important? Where do you go?
Usually, I feel like it has a lot to be doing with being comfortable with your own flaws, like being okay with not being picture perfect, not being a knight in shining armor. Like we all have flaws. We all have things that we wish we could kind of take back and, you know, redo a couple things. And I'll be the first to admit every mistake that I've made, or every wrong turn that I could have avoided, all my decisions. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with learning. I'm okay with taking those things necessary in order to be like, I won't have anything that anybody can hold against me, because I've already come to terms with that. Therefore, I want to speak out on things, and it might be, well, who are you to talk, or who are you to say these things? And I'm just somebody that's willing to be a helping hand. Like I'm not saying I'm perfect by far, because I'm not. I have so many flaws and so many things that I need to work on. But I don't want anybody to feel alone, because I know what that aloneness and that loneliness does to somebody. Right. And even if it's coming from somebody like me, or even somebody else, maybe I might encourage somebody else to give somebody else help. You know what I mean? Just getting comfortable enough with yourself, because I feel like we hide a lot of things within ourselves that hinder us from being who we are. We all have this, you know, light within us. We all have this amazing thing about us that we either neglect, run from, or just don't acknowledge, because there's something special about all of us. If there wasn't a higher power, we all wouldn't be so individual. Like we're all so different, but also alike. And I think that's what makes us so special. We just need to accept that. You know what I mean?
I would like to say that one of the things that I know that there is no reason for anybody in the Native American community or the reservation to have an enormous amount of trust instincts. But I will tell you to try to add on, because I think I misspoke a little bit earlier. I didn't want to misspeak to the kids, but I know that just so you know, Chuck Willig was my coach, and he coached me in high school, and there was no reason not to be fully trusting. He told me to stand on my head, I would stand on my head. He told me to run through the wall, I'd run through the wall, because I knew that the way that I was going, it wasn't really working any other way. Also, Joe Pena came out and made a huge impact on me. He was also my coach for a window of time. He was probably the best free safety in St. Paul history. And he came out and talked to me. And I was like, oh, I have to listen to everything he has to say. And I just trusted everything he had to say, including some techniques that were different than what Chuck told me. So what I'm getting at is, at some point, you have to trust somebody in life, whether that's your girlfriend, whether that's your girlfriend's father, whether that's your coach, whether that's your science teacher, whether it's the police officer. In my mind, I don't think I could have made it without a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
The community, we talk about the raising the kid is a community of people that has to do it, right? The problem that I see when I was fortunate enough to be on the reservation was it was so sparse and it was so distant from each other. I live in a neighborhood where I could reach out and touch my neighbor's house. That's how tight it is here. You've been in those cities. So how do we bring the people together often enough? And how do we get the kids to trust people with their feelings and trust people with their problems? How does that happen in your corner of the world?
I think it starts with the parents. It starts with the people that they're around every single day. There's levels to how kids are influenced. There's peers, and kids are more influenced by their peers than anybody else.
Right.
Kids will be like, oh, why'd you do it? Well, Tommy was doing this, so I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Shit, you drove 26 miles every day because of your peers. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. They listen to their peers, but their peers get it from who they're around every day. It starts with how we're raising each other. If you're raised in a household where if something goes wrong, it's all right, well, I'm gonna head out. We don't talk about it. We don't address it. And I see it more healthy with how I see my sister raising her daughter. She's raising her in a home where if something's wrong, I want you to be comfortable enough and I want you to feel safe enough to openly say, Mom, this is what's bothering me. This is what's wrong. We're raised in an environment where we get shamed for feeling. Right. We get shamed for having those emotions, so having those feelings run through us, and being built by, and it coming from our peers, it's you get roasted by your friends, you get made fun of by your friends for having those kind of things go on. And that teaches you to be like, okay, I don't want to be humiliated. I don't want to be embarrassed. So I avoid that by just not talking about those things. Right. I think it starts with us having an open conversation about being okay with our emotions. And I still struggle with that. I struggle with it all the time. Being able to understand that it doesn't matter what you're feeling or where those feelings come from. It's an emotion that you felt. Therefore, it's validated because you're the one feeling. It doesn't, they could say what they want, but you're going through it. Therefore, it is real and it deserves to be felt and validated by yourself. And those are real.
What would happen if that kid that was 12 years? Yeah, please. That's awesome. But what happens if you got out of a situation when you were 12 and it wasn't awesome? What if that would have extended till you were 18? How would your life be different? Or would sports have been strong enough still? Or what do you think?
I think it would have been a very dark and short path.
Because I can imagine kids on the reservation are feeling that, no?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was very thankful for the whole foster care thing because it gave me a chance to step my foot out and finally get out of that kind of environment. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I've said it to my mom and them a couple of times, like, especially to go through like my puberty stages in that violent environment would have been extremely hurtful to my growth. You know what I mean? So to be able to have the grace to be taken out of that situation and then to be put into a situation to where I'm surrounded by love, care, and support was hugely impactful to how things ended up developing for me. And unfortunately, a lot of kids don't have that saving grace of getting removed from that. A lot of kids do have to be raised their entire life into that, you know what I mean? And I think that has a lot to do with it, you know?
Yeah. I think it's time for you to take a podcast to the res.
Yeah, man.
Start talking about this shit a little bit.
Yeah, seriously.
Keep that in mind. We'll talk about that later down the road. But
yeah, man,
I appreciate you sharing that, because it's such an amazing thing to go through, and we've dealt with it. Like we said, we worked in the psychological field and spent time with adolescents who were in therapy and in groups and doing the work to try and get through those things. And then there's all the rest that don't ever even know what that looks like. It's like you're a goofball if you go and get help, so to just be able to talk about it amongst peers, like from you to them, I think is an important step in doing that. Can I ask you about this path to Obama? Tommy's talking about it.
Yeah, man.
Obama,
what's up?
How'd you get there? That's a cool story. I'd love to hear that, and we can revisit anything else before we're done. But that'd be cool to hear.
Yeah. So it was my first year in college, second semester. At that time, even going before I went to college, when I committed to Black Hill State, the Rapid City Journal, which is a big newspaper on the western side of South Dakota, they came down and they did an interview with me about how I was committing to Black Hills. And at the time, I was just like, oh, they're going to write a little interview, whatever. Anyways, Sunday newspaper comes out, front page, Sunday newspaper, Rapid City Journal, right smack dab on the front. You see a picture of me and it says local athlete commits to all this other stuff. And
number 5.
From that article alone, I think that article is what really started taking everything off and taking it to a different level with it. Because before, it was just kind of, when I was in 8th grade, I told my mom, I'm gonna go to school for sports. That's what I'm gonna do. And that was all it was. So we got to this, and now there's this different aspect of being an athlete that I have never felt before, and that's the kids' attention that you get. You know what I mean? All of that started coming in, and to me, that was all just kind of natural for me. I've always wanted to lend that helping hand, because it relates back to what I was saying is I know what it's like to not have somebody there. So when kids ask for that help, or kids want that help, or even if they don't want it, I'll be the first and most willing to come down and offer it. You know what I mean? That's where it all started, is just, I know what it's like to not have it. So I want to be that. I want to be that for somebody. So we're going through my freshman year of college, and it's called the White House Champions of Change. And they have different months that they do different things for. And the month that I was selected for was Foster Care Awareness Month, my time in foster care. And I don't know how I got nominated. Somebody randomly nominated me, which I still don't know who that is. Thankful to whoever they are.
They obviously knew a little bit of background on you, though.
Right? Out of 3,000 nominees spread all across the United States, they selected 12. And out of those 12, I was selected. And I was the only person under the age of 25 on the panel at the time. I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And it was my head coach at Black Hill State who actually pushed me, and he was like, yo, you really need to do this. Like, you actually need to do this. And I didn't really know, at 19 years old, I didn't really know how big it really was. I thought it was just, one of those things. It was like, whatever. I didn't really know the full scale of what was going on at the time. So we get all the things done. We get out there. They pay for my flight there and back. We get there. I meet the head of the Center of Native American Studies, I believe it was. I'll have to double check that. They fly me in, they take me out to this beautiful Brazilian steakhouse. My first time experiencing anything like it. They gave us the little green card, red card things. They were like, just say it green, they'll keep bringing you food. If you put it red, they will. And I was like, what? I laid it green. They just kept bringing me slices of meat, bringing me slices. I was like, this is awesome.
Pretty soon you're a linebacker.
Yeah, seriously. And so we get down there, and first day down there, they're like, here, this is how you get one of your little electronic bicycles. And I got to go around, and I got to see the Lincoln Memorial. I got to see everything. Got to go by all of it. And I'm just sitting there, and I was 19 years old by myself. They were like, here's a bike, go do honors. So I was sitting there at 19 years old, just kind of wandering around Washington, D.C. I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. Nice hotel. So we get there, and
what was your favorite monument?
Oh, more actually, we're gonna have to take a second on that one.
There's some incredible stuff over there.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't mean to mess up your vibe, but
no. Although the history behind Abraham Lincoln with his Native American trials was whatever it is, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty cool to see him in the big statue sitting on the chair. I'm not gonna lie. That was probably the best sight to see. Yeah. But so we get there, and we get into our suits. I get into my suit, and we walk up, and I didn't even know the thing was going to be nationally televised at the time. And we walk up, and I'm talking to my friend Daryl, who was there. And they were like, yeah, we're going to be on national TV, you know, like the number 3 channel where it shows all the things that are going on. They're like, it's going to be on national TV. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And we get there, and they were like, Eriq, we have somebody we want you to meet. And I walk over, and I walk into this room, and all I see is this giant 6'8" dude. And I look, and I turn around, it's Jimmy Graham. I said, I'm like, that's Jimmy Graham. And I kind of looked around, and I'm like, what? And then Jimmy Graham gets to telling me his story, and he's like, yeah, I was in foster care. I was half black, half white. And I'm like, I'm half white and half Native. And he's sitting there telling me about everything. And I'm like, no, I'm just like this guy. And till this day, I have fairly big hands, so I'm not going to lie. But when I shook Jimmy Graham's hand, it was the first time in my life till this day where I ever felt small. He shook my hand, and I felt his hand wrap around mine. I was like, oh. But we get done there, and I got to meet the Secretary of Education, the Secretary of Agriculture, the Secretary of Defense. And unfortunately, that specific week, Obama was overseas doing something. And that was the only reason I didn't get to meet Obama that time I was there, which is kind of unfortunate. But I got to meet a lot of different people. So it was actually
what a cool deal. Yeah. Wow,
yeah, it was crazy. Like I said, I didn't understand like the full scale of what was going on at the time. Now that I'm older, there's a list of so many things that I'm able to do and things that I'm able to pursue. Having that on my resume is absolutely insane, you know.
How long were you in foster care officially?
8 months, I believe. Because when we got in, my mom wasn't able to get custody of us because she didn't have the household or like the means necessary to support 5 kids on her own. So when that was found out, my grandma stepped in and was able to get custody of us because she had everything that we needed.
Right.
Wow, that's cool. Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
What was your grandmother's name?
Gilma Stands.
Wow.
Gilma Stands.
Say that one more time.
Gilma Stands.
Gilma Stands. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, she actually still, so she has this thing. She's been my biggest supporter when it comes to sports and everything. So ever since I was in high school, all of that, she'll always bring me a red Gatorade. She'll always bring me a red Gatorade. She just came to my game this past Saturday, and she was like, here, I got your Gatorade. I had my little red Gatorade, and I was like, I love you, Grandma.
That's tradition.
Yeah, yeah.
So is your mom Caucasian and your dad is Native American?
No, my mom is full blood, and I don't know who my dad is.
But you just know he's a Caucasian dude, huh?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So what's next for you, Eriq? I mean, so let's say you have a 5 or 6 or 7 more years of playing football. Maybe you get a chance to go to Canada. Maybe you get a chance to go to the league. What's next? I mean, you got a child. Is it marriage? And you're going to be a lawyer? You're going to be a teacher? What are you going to do?
Well, I want to be a father, and I think that's the most important thing to me.
That's a good job.
Yeah, it's a hard job. It's a hard job with a lot of responsibility, but I'm excited to take that on. But outside of that, I want to teach and I want to start coaching. But first insight, I'm actually starting my own fitness training business.
I saw that. That's cool.
Yeah, we're gonna trademark it, Swift Fit.
Swift Fit.
Yeah, we're gonna go with there, and it's gonna be a professional level sports training. So we're not just focusing on football players or basketball players. I want to reach a wide range of athletes. You know, I want to improve everybody's skill or everybody's athleticism, not only for kids on the res, but everywhere. You know what I mean? I feel like that's something that a lot of kids could use. I want it to be for elementary, high school, college, and even pro athletes, whoever I can reach. You know what I mean?
We were talking to another coach last week, and he was so concerned with COVID that the kids weren't getting in the weight room, and now they're going to play football, and it's not, the injuries were skyrocketing. They ended up this season with 25 kids, which is relatively small for California.
Yeah.
So anything you can do is on that. Is it going to be speed and explosive movements, or?
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a lot of basic stuff, you know, the agility ladder, speed hurdles, cone drills. And the thing that when I started hosting camps and going back and doing the things that I was doing back home is that a lot of this knowledge is free knowledge. It's free knowledge on how to do an icky shuffle on the speed ladder, right, or how to do cone drills. But growing up, for me especially, nobody ever came down and taught us how to do those things. Nobody showed us how to properly squat on a barbell. Nobody showed us how to proper hang clean. And I feel like that's such a shame that kids back home aren't exposed to that, because when I got to college, I found out what I was doing and I promised myself, and I was like, okay, once I have the resources and the knowledge, I'll never stop. And that's why I've gotten to the point where I'm at now. And I just look back and I'm like, man, if I could have started lifting weights when I was a freshman in high school, or started doing agility and speed work when I was a freshman, there's no way I would have been anywhere less than a D1 athlete. But I just hadn't been exposed to any of that. And plus, I mean, to have somebody who comes from their town, their reservation, doing these things with them and showing them how to do it makes it so much more impactful, because it's not just another guy coming down saying, hey, this is kind of how you do it. You know, now there's a little bit of meaning to it that comes with it when people like me or other athletes who have gone off to college come back and say it now, because it's almost more realistic, if that makes sense. You know,
well, I'll tell you what, Eriq, we're standing in the gap for you, man. Taking our camp out there to the res and around the country and doing camps on the reservations. We believe in the need to give that back to, and give something that bridges that gap. And so I think it's really neat. Again, we're all doing the same thing. We kind of got missions, across the board here. I know Joe's got his hand up again, so we let Joe have something. You want to jump in, Joe?
That's so badass.
Well, I just wanted to expand on that, because I think it totally relates to football for life and what we're trying to do on the res. And, there are some great highlights of Eriq in the Ulrich's gym, rocking the slam dunk contest, and the crowd just goes crazy. Nice. And I love though. I was a basketball guy too. I was a 3-sport guy, and as many sports as you can get in. But I see so many kids that are 6'4" and 300 pounds, on Pine Ridge. Yeah. And they want to be the point guard, and they want to be the or they want to be a running back. They have now the H back. I'm going to be the H back.
Yeah. So
what do you think we can do to facilitate that type of change in them and get them that mindset? They got to see that they have an opportunity in football that they might not have in other sports. And I'm not trying to discourage people from playing any sports. I think everybody should do as much as they can. But in the first year we went out to camp, there was a kid that was 6'8", over 300 pounds. Yeah. And he was, a point guard, literally.
Straight to the NFL, that guy.
Yeah. Right. So how did you transition? I know it was a big thing for you, because you're a pretty good basketball player too.
Yeah. Well, on the first part, I take it on how I see how Hot Springs football was operated and how football is viewed on the Reds. Football it goes basketball, cross country, softball, and then football. That's how it goes. Wow. But when I was playing football in Hot Springs, everybody, the community, if I walked to a gas station or if I went somewhere, everybody was asking us, how's the team looking? how's the team going to operate? Everybody loved getting the kids involved. Like the community was supportive and involved in how the football team was working. It was a culture that was instilled for, I mean, generations, you know what I mean? And I see that's how it is with basketball, but not other sports. People are so crazy. And I was one of those guys. It was basketball or nothing. I only did football in the fall and 2 weeks in the summer or a week in the summer when we went to our camp. Other than that, I never touched a football. I was never on a football field. I just did football because it was something that I could do. I never looked at football like that. It was always basketball, basketball, basketball. But now I'm starting to see that kind of culture change. There was different athletes. I don't know if you guys have heard of Teton Saltez. He just got assigned as an undrafted rookie to the New York Jets, and he's from Pine Ridge. We also have there was Jeremiah Hopkins. He was at Little Wound High School, and I got him to come up and play football with me over at Black Hills State. A couple other guys, and I could see that kind of transition starting because now they're seeing different athletes take different routes. Because I saw everybody go basketball. I saw everybody do the basketball thing. So when it came to the football, it was kind of a way for me to, take a different route, start something different. And now it's becoming more normalized. And I'm not saying because of me by any means, but I think it's becoming more popular.
A little bit.
For the sake of our show today, we can go there.
You're the guy here. Come on.
But it's becoming more popular. And just like you said, you see these kids with enormous size and speed. And the athleticism is there. The natural athleticism is there. But you're telling me that these kids want to be 6'8", 300 point guards. Well, I want you to be the left tackle and go to the league.
Right.
You need to see that. But I don't think they don't see anything else other than me being able to play basketball. That's what they see. But they need they just need their perspective broadened.
Yeah. But you need somebody to sell them on it. But the other part of that is that it's a lot more work.
It really is.
Play football and be a starting tackle, and and once they get past that, that initial fear. But if you're running down on the point at that size, you don't want to go smack the shit out of somebody. Maybe. I mean, unless you're that. But I mean, it's who doesn't love playing basketball? If you're a baller, and football's fucking badass. We all made a living at it, but. I love freaking playing basketball. But with that being said, and us doing the camps, how did you meet Joe, and what's your kind of thoughts here on what we're doing, trying to go back and forth and do some lend a helping hand?
I believe it was Sam, right? Sam Bravo that got us in touch, and Sam's a family friend first and foremost. I've known Sam since I can remember. I moved out to Res, and Sam is from the same area as I am down there in Oglala, and he was the head coach. I'm not sure if he still is over at Pine Ridge. And he was talking to me because this was during the time that I was putting on my camps and doing all this stuff. And he said, we got these guys coming from over here in California. They're going to come down here, host camps. And I think I had other stuff going on at the time when they were down there doing their stuff. And that's what kind of first initially heard about the whole Football for Life and Joe himself and everything and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I would say the year in college where I was in need of the scholarship where we really started talking and getting in touch like that. And at that time, so I had some stuff fall through with the football team at Black Hills, and I ended up needing like $1,500 to pay for my last semester of school. It was one class. And I went to my head football coach, and it was the first time in my life up there at Black Hills where I was like, hey, I kind of need some help with my scholarship. And I had still been on my redshirt scholarship all 4 years that I had been up there. I had never gotten a scholarship increase. So it was the first time I had ever asked for money. And I felt uncomfortable even bringing that up because I heard my whole time up there, I'm getting $10,000. I'm getting all of this money. And I'm sitting here like, you guys don't even play. I've been a 4-year starter up here, but I never let it get to me because I was just happy to play, and then I never needed it. So it never really occurred to me to, bring it up or say anything and stuff like that. But the one semester that I needed it, I was kind of like, hey, I need your help. And he kind of turned his back on me and said no. And at that point, I had to drop out for the spring semester that I was supposed to graduate. I wasn't able to finish that semester, and I was scrambling around looking for stuff. And I was able to get in touch with Joe. Joe was able to reach out with me, and we were able to get some things worked out. And that's what I was grateful to get that athletic the scholarship from Football for Life to help me finish out my last year at college. So I really didn't have a senior year of college football, but I had a senior year of college. So I'm thankful for that and being able to walk away with a degree, which has propelled me propelled you. That's the one I'm looking for.
Don't worry, I botched your introduction. So
it was cool because you were a mysterious dude. You know, Joe was telling us, yeah, there's this guy, this Swiftwater guy. I'm like, first of all, that's a great name. First of all, your name's Swiftwater. That's pretty badass. I don't know. And he would tell us, and you know, I actually asked the coach, and he was like, yeah, man, this guy. And just so you know, my son he played football 1 year at Chadron. He came from Orange County and went up to Chadron and spent 1 year. Okay. He got stranded in his truck on the side of the road, and that was it. He's like, I'm coming home.
No,
I almost died.
You get stranded out here, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's a super, like a flip-flop guy, and he's, and he met a lot of great guys up there, but it just wasn't, it didn't work out for him. But he got a phone call from Black Hills, but I was like, man, that is literally the farthest school away from California possible. Yeah, you can't do any better than that. Come on, man. And at that time, the record wasn't. Chadron had a little bit better record and all that stuff, but he's probably your age. He's 26, so he's probably around your age somewhere.
Yeah, he was definitely my age.
Yeah. The idea that it must have felt super scary being one class away. It must have been this unbelievable sort of roadblock for a young man. And then all of a sudden, maybe you get a phone call or something like that. I mean, you got it. That's got to strengthen you that, somebody's looking out for you, and that's got to help get through the tough times even now, I imagine.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, as soon as that happened, it was all of those feelings that we had talked about earlier coming back up wow, I really can't doing all this. And to have somebody like that come in and really kind of save it was one of those things that kind of really opened my eyes to whereas there are people out there who are watching and people out there who are taking notice of the good things that you are doing and how much you are trying to, make an impact beyond yourself. And for somebody like me, I'm not really the one I'm not going to push those things that I'm doing. Or I really don't want that recognition. You know what I mean? But to have it recognized was really warming feeling to me because for a while it felt like I was just doing things, and I don't look for the recognition. But if we're being honest, it's nice to have it noticed sometimes. You know what I mean?
I like that. The part of the story that I like is that there was no football involved with that transaction. Weren't. It wasn't anything about getting paid because you played. It was you were a standard bearer for your community. And you needed just a little help. No big deal. And Joe had it. And please, Joe.
I'll tell you a little bit about that. It was basically, a lot of times you go and you do your scholarship applications and all that. And it was just between Eriq and I. And I, if I could have looked him in the eye, I knew, when he told me, I basically just asked him, can you finish in the time to walk in May? And he was like, yeah, I could. I'll be able to do it. I said, then you're in. And, just took it from there and we got it done for him. And he did, man. He finished. That was one of the best moments of Football for Life when I saw him walking. He had some pictures posted of him walking in the graduation. I want to know, was your head coach at that graduation? You kind of give him the side eye.
So, funny thing.
Here we go.
We're just talking here. Anyway, the whole, the story about the whole, if a coach is a coach to you, he's a coach. You call him coach for life.
Right.
So I had continuously been getting kicked out of the athletic weight room because my strength and conditioning coach, he would let me into the weight room because he knew I just wanted to work out. Well, the head coach at the time would constantly come in and he was like, why is Swiftwater in here? And I would get kicked out of the get kicked out of the athletic weight room because I wasn't on the team anymore and I wasn't in school, but I was still trying to work out. So I was just like, man, it's whatever. I'm going to go work upstairs in the civilian weight room with everybody else. And
there's a lot of spandex up in that weight room, though, buddy.
So I'm up there and I'm getting my warm up in, and I see him coming for me this way, like he's walking this way, and I'm like, oh, this is about to happen. This is our first interaction since like all this went down. He's walking by. I take out my headphone. He says, Eriq. I took out my headphone. I said, John. I kept walking and I was like, okay, that's the one I needed right there. I'm good. I don't know if he was at my graduation, but that was enough for me to be like,
that's great.
It was subtle, but it was like, my mom has always made it a point to me that I've always had to be the one to take the high road, that no matter what, you have to be the one to understand the situation more. But that right there was just a little bit enough for me to be like, okay, that's as much as I needed right there.
Well, in a way, you were taking the high road. You were carrying the degree. That's pretty dope. You know,
exactly,
that's the trump card.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if you got to work one in every once in a while, you know.
I love
right,
that. That's fantastic, man. I think that one of the things that I like to tell the kids, and I told my sons, and I tell the teams that I coach, is sometimes you got to play the cards that you got. You know, you can't be pissed off about what hands you've been dealt, but you can do your best to play them. You know, I tell the girls on the team, you know, I have a guitar, but it only has one string on it. This is all I can do. And so I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to worry about, you know, other things that I could have done or should have done. I'm just going to do what I'm good at. And I know what I'm good at, and it's so much better. And that was the thing. It's kind of circling back to what Chuck was talking about, that 6'8" guy. I mean, I was at that camp, and that guy he looked like an NFL player and he moved like an NFL player. And I'm going, why would he play basketball? That's not the string on the guitar, you know? And, you know, how do we get that message to the kids on the reservation about the different options out there for them? Like how do we make college real? How do we make, you know, trade school real? How do we make all these things real for these kids when their scope is limited? Or is it not? Is social media making the world smaller and the options are opening? Or what's your thoughts?
I definitely think that the social media is making things a lot more into perspective. It's making the world smaller, like you said. Yeah. And I think people need to acknowledge the fact that trade schools are such a beautiful thing to be a part of, man. I have my best friend in high school. He went off and got his 2-year, came out, and he's making a lot of money, making a good living right now. Sure. But the only thing you see, and as it was for me, is, well, I can't go to college if I'm not playing sports. That's what is normalized as the only route to get to college. Mm-hmm. Yet you see all of these my sister, all these other athletes, or not athletes, all these other kids or all these other people growing up who get the Gates Millennium Scholarship or get all these other scholarships, but nobody talks about them. Nobody brings them up. The only people that anybody around the tribe or any of these schools want to talk about is their athletes. And I was one of them. That's why my older sister got overshadowed so much, is because my older sister was going above and beyond and tackling on the world, and I was just playing football. You know what I mean? But it seems a lot like if you're not an athlete, then you're not something we should be worried about. You know what I mean? And I think that's the first barrier that we need to break down, is understanding, giving these kids a encouragement that just because you don't play sports doesn't mean that you can't go to college. Or just because you're playing sports and not doing so well at it doesn't mean that you still can't go to college. I don't think we make it realistic enough that there are other options other than sports. You know what I mean?
It's always sounded in the conversations that I've had with as many people as I can about it. You know, it's always sounded like the counselors in the schools have kind of given up on the really, you know, the desire for the kids that really don't really want to go. And then they're having trouble getting kids into schools and off the reservation, or they go and leave the reservation and then they say, screw that. And they go right back and they kind of lose their credibility. You know, what do you think some of the answers to some of that stuff is it, you know, I mean, is the counseling departments weak? Do they need to have younger people that have a connection? You know, is there a pilot project that has to get young kids involved in doing counseling and college counseling on the res? What do you think about that?
It's actually great that you said that, because that's the area that I want to be involved in the schools with, is the guidance counselor area. Because for exactly what you just said, I feel like the guidance counselor area, when I chose to go through the degrees that I went through, is kind of like the middle area, to where I'm not in the classrooms, but I can help with classes. I'm not in I can make it more realistic to understand how to make college a real option. I said it from when I was younger, is that, we're taught to dribble a basketball, but we're not taught how to fill out a scholarship. And I feel like that's a big problem. I mean, I thankfully had my older sister who was able to teach me how to write my essays, how to get down, which scholarships to apply for, how to use student loans and stuff like that. And a lot of that information, free knowledge, but we're not taught those things, you know what I mean? Or if we are, it's taught by people who aren't willing to take the time to understand how different kids learn and how different kids get intrigued to those things, you know what I mean? You can't teach a fish how to climb a tree, you know what I mean? You got to learn how to get in the water and swim with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and seeing it through, and seeing it through because it's rough. It takes a grind, and
it's time and effort. And a lot of these kids aren't shown that kind of support. These kids are, if I put up this wall long enough, they're just going to give up and walk away. So I need to keep that wall up. And what we need to understand as educators is that those walls are going to keep coming up, and we just have to continuously break and break and break, because that's what they're used to. They're used to having people abandon them and walk away and give up. So now you got to show them how you're different and what can you be in order to be different. And that when you were talking about the trust earlier, once you can get that trust, that's a bond those kids, myself, don't let go of, you know what I mean? Now we get that trust that we've been yearning for, that security of, I know that dependability that they're going to be there when I am in need of that kind of help, you know what I mean? But it is a grind and it is a long road, and it can be frustrating. I was a frustrating kid to deal with. I made teachers cry, you know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. I was very frustrating as a kid, but I knew that those were the things that I wanted, you know what I mean? Even if I didn't see it at the time.
Yeah.
What's the best thing about the res? Like what gives you hope when it comes to the reservation?
The families. I mean, you can say what you want about all of it, but when you get your family around and everything, all you hear is laughter, jokes, and just you hear the grandmas laughing, the aunties laughing, or you and your friend, you know what I mean? I think the natural camaraderie is there. I feel like we always click with each other no matter what. That will always be there. There is an unbreakable bond that is there. But I think it's kind of a thing when something hits the fan, it's scatter mode, because that's what, kind of the environment that they've been raised in lately. But our ability to come together, really.
It's one of the great ironies, I think in general, for, to know the great history that you come from, and that to have to be a sticking point as well, on both ends of the stick. It's really interesting from an outsider. Tom and I are working on having conversations with the African American culture and some guys that are going to come on, and and it's things that I can say I understand it all a little bit. But I'll never know what it's like to grow up on the res. I'll never know what it's like to be in a black man's shoes, but I am a human and I have a lot of compassion. So listening to you guys talk and understanding the perspectives, gives me hope that I'll understand it enough to, be able to make a connection, and that'll be good enough, and that's, we appreciate you talking about that stuff. I'm going to give you a couple of pubs, www.buckedup.com, Jet5 promo code Jet5. We're going to flash that up for you and throw that up if you want. The Wyoming Mustangs football for life has been a part of the deal. Swift Fit, elite sports training for high school and college athletes. I think we'll all probably keep tabs on you a little bit, and hopefully we can stay in touch and maybe help each other out doing some coaching going down the road.
And The Alchemist. Come on. What a book.
The Alchemist, I mean, we live there. Yeah,
Eriq.
you're kind of an old soul, maybe, or
Yeah.
we're really young souls. I'm not sure.
I had a tear in my eye. I'm not even gonna lie. That's the only book. So my dad was alcoholic and my mom booted him out when I was 2, and he would send me a Christmas and a birthday card all the time, and then he sent me one book in my life. The only present I ever got was a book, and it was The Alchemist. Believe it or not. That's fucking weird. I'm sorry about my language. It's really weird, but that's literally the only gift I ever got from the guy was that damn book.
Yeah, great book. That was a really life-changing book.
Honestly. No, I mean he was 5'4", so he didn't give me any height or any of that. My giant head, I don't know.
That's fantastic. Well, I like I said, I really, really appreciate you sharing all that you shared. It's going to be really enjoyable for the people that I know are inspired by stories like this, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm hoping we can get you back on again at some point down the road and see where the football season ended up. And like I said, hopefully we can coach somewhere somehow on a football field one day together a little bit. But yeah, that's been fantastic. Tommy's going to take you through some of our speed questions and some of our things to finish up with, and they're kind of some random stuff that we like to talk about, and you can throw some answers back at them, and we'll finish up. But yeah, we'll make sure we get you some pubbed up graphics up on, and people can reach out and check you out. So
yeah, definitely. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It was a blast.
What's your desert? Go ahead, Joe. Do you have anything else?
Eriq, what's the your teammate that you're going to bring down to Pine Ridge?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Jared Harris. He played at Butler University.
Nice.
Okay. And he will be there, Chuck.
Oh, okay.
On the 17th. So Jared,
we'll see you then.
Jared's going to help us with the D line. Eriq's going to do his all around performance, and
cool.
He'll be a good one to give those opening agilities to, since most of us can't do them anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I got a good opening stretch and stuff that I like to get the kids through. I put my teammates through it right now. This whole thing that I run through, it goes from static to active stretching and stuff like that, but it'll be a great warm up for them.
Right. We'll incorporate you in on that first part. And then so he'll only be able to be there on the 17th though, Chuck, just so
cool.
you know.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, we actually have a game in Wichita, Kansas on the 19th, so we'll leave at like 4 a.m. on the 18th. But I just talked to the coaches today. We'll be all right to come down on the 17th.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it.
All right, Tommy.
What is your desert island records? What music would you take with you to the desert island?
Okay. Logic, Under Pressure. It was his first official released album.
Nice.
I'm a huge Logic fan. That's an instant no-brainer for me. Second, Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. Growing up, absolutely.
Right on, man. Get down.
Absolutely love it. I didn't know if it was an album, but I considered it an album, so I went George Strait, Top 50 Greatest Hits. You gotta love King George.
Good for you.
Love King George. And Sam Hunt, Montevello. Newer country artist, but I absolutely love that album. And then the last one would be J. Cole, Forest Hills Drive. Can't beat a triple platinum album. You know what I mean?
No doubt. That's a solid one. I think if you had mentioned this, we can just skip this and we'll edit it out. But one person who made an impact on your life that doesn't know it.
Dr. James Hess. He was the head of the psychology department at Black Hills State when I was up there, and man, the way this man ran his classrooms, first of all, we would all get circled up. We didn't sit in lines. He would circle us up into a group. And the criteria that he was teaching us, it was higher level, like about to graduate classes, but he broke it down so well. And he made it so easy to understand, and not only to understand, but to implement to ourselves. You know what I mean? He had been a experienced psychologist, a retired therapist. So everything that he was teaching us, he would use case studies, but not mention names, obviously, but he would just tell situations about how this related to the things that we were learning. And he actually gave me the opportunity to create my first theory, which was, we took this class called Theories of Personality. And at the end of the course, we would all present our own personal theories about how we believe personalities are developed. And just head and shoulders, absolutely the most impactful person. And he would tell me all the time, he's like, I want to know why you're not applying yourself. Like, you're the most intellectual person that I've had in one of these classes in a really long time, yet you just sit there and you barely give effort, yet you're still standing head and shoulders like this. And that was like kind of eye-opening for me, because he was like, he saw the potential that I had in the classroom and how much I wasn't using it at the time. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Well, your first assignment postgraduate is to email your buddy there and let him know.
Yeah, right.
You gotta let him know, man, because he's probably close to retirement, and you need to let him know.
He actually did just retire.
Okay, cool. Well, you do that for me. I appreciate it.
I will.
What is the magic bullet for happiness?
Don't take anything personal. Everything in this
everything
life,
personal. What are you talking about? Everything.
Nothing personal. Everything comes, everything goes. You know, there's a lot of people that will say stuff about you. A lot of people will have opinions about you. And a lot of the time, it's just a reflection of them as themselves, or the things that they don't have going on with themselves. To be able to understand that, you know, nothing's permanent. Nothing's going to really last forever. In a couple of decades, nobody's going to know my name. You know what I mean? To be able to be happy in the moment, I think you have to smell the roses now before it goes dry.
Sounds very stoic of you. Very good.
It sounds like on the path, man.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. That's our program.
I'm trying. It's a work in progress.
Right on.
So, we asked the question, the Bezos question. What, if you had Bezos money, what would you spend it on to make your country or community stronger? But can you narrow that down to Football for Life? If Football for Life had a blank check, if we could do anything that we wanted to do with Football for Life, in your opinion, with your guidance, what do we need to do in your community?
Oh, this is my well, I'm just speaking on the money part. I have a life goal. This is my life's work. I want to open up a facility that entertains children beyond Boys and Girls Club. I want it to have training for any sport that you could possibly want, and experienced trainers. But not only that, I want to have another area to where we can teach the kids that don't do sports how to be an artist, how to be a writer, how to be a mathematician. I want specific areas, not just kind of scoping over the whole scheme of what school should be. I want this to be a place where kids can come and find their passion, because they have access to so many different things that they can try, in an open environment where they can feel comfortable enough to, maybe I want to try to write today. Maybe I want to be a writer today. Maybe I want to be an artist today. Maybe
like
I want
Montessori.
Yeah. I want it to be an open place to where kids can explore their creativity. You know what I mean? Because I want them to be able to see how creative they truly can be when given the right setting and opportunity to unleash it.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
That's
in my area, we have a group of people that come that are Chinese, and they come to school on Saturday and they do a bunch of things. You see them doing Tai Chi, you see them doing swordplay, you see them in the classroom, SAT prep, doing all this stuff. I mean, they take over our school, and then there's also in Southern California, we have the Jewish schools. Obviously that's more religious based, but man, I see you kind of working there. You sort of that extended after school program that, to fill in that time, right. And give them. And I love the Montessori idea where you just go pick something today. I'm just going to freaking today. Yeah. Grab the guitar, grab the paintbrush.
And it's somewhere where a lot of these kids, like for me especially, I was growing up, the last place I wanted to be was home. I wanted to be out. I didn't like being at home. I hated home. So I want this place to be like a safe haven to where, I don't really want to go home right now. I don't like what's going on at home right now. So now I have this place to where I know I'm surrounded by good people, trustworthy people, and I can still have, the necessities that I need in order to progress.
And so how do we fit in with Football for Life? That's a tough one.
I mean, you guys got the check. No, I'm
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, that's exactly the answer too, Eriq. Well, that's right on. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, you're right. That's probably the best answer. How do you measure success?
Through experience. I mean, it's all lessons, really. I mean, success is very objective. That says a lot of things in life. I think success needs to come from how much you learn from each experience. To be successful is to be knowledgeable. I mean, if you go through this life and you're not learning things at each step or at each stop that you make, are you really taking anything from it? Wisdom is knowledge, you know what I mean? And how much knowledge you can gain from those experiences is the true success to me, to be honest. Because there's no marker, there's no award that you can put on your life that says, you know, I am successful. Being successful means being a good dad, being a good friend, being a good fiance. You know what I mean? That's success to me. I don't think you can put a title on it. I think it comes from, you know, learning those things.
Right on. Okay, so we got the speed round now, and this is straight from the psychology department. It's just the either or question. You know, it's like Coke or Pepsi. You just pick one, the one that comes to your brain. Okay.
Okay.
But I have a millennial version. Are you a millennial type guy, or do you want to just go with the straight old school one?
Millennials.
Okay, millennial. All right, here we go. So we'll do this, and then we're gonna record this, and then we'll put it together as a compilation. It'll be part of your, you know, the promotion that we do with you, and it's a fun one. Like if you go back and look at our podcast, look at the speed round, and some of those other ones are pretty fun.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
I think we have the answer to this already earlier. Drake or J. Cole?
J. Cole.
Chris Hemsworth or Jason Momoa?
Chris Hemsworth. Love Thor.
Right on. Poor Aquaman. That sucks. Toy Story or Finding Nemo?
Toy Story.
Xbox or PlayStation?
PlayStation. Got a PS4.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi, but I'll take Dr. Pepper.
You dropped the does. We were waiting for somebody to go on script.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's fantastic. We got to send you a T-shirt.
Yeah, man. Beer or tequila?
Beer.
Android or iOS?
Android, more personalized.
Nice. Baseball or football?
Football. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that was kind of a duh. Coffee or Red Bull?
Red Bull.
TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram. Hate TikTok.
Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B? We have no idea, so you can answer whatever you want.
That's the same face Joe made.
Mine are a little different though. J-Lo or Selma.
Oh, I'm going J-Lo, no doubt. You say J-Lo?
Selma or
I said
J-Lo?
my wife's in the other room.
He said his wife's in the other room. Yeah,
that was a great answer.
Take that.
Susie. Yeah.
Susie.
Vans or Converse?
Converse.
Sushi or tacos?
Ooh, tacos.
Dude with sign or cranberry juice guy?
Oh, cranberry juice guy. Gotta love me some Fleetwood Mac.
That's
the cranberry, man.
Good.
Very
awesome.
cool. So that's kind of it for us. And, you know, please send me the stuff that you want to send, and we'll put it up on the description, and we'll get all that. And, you know, we're going to need your help to promote too. I'll send you clips and stuff that you can, if you don't mind putting them up, or, you know, when you get
I was actually
subscribers
I took a little picture before we started. I posted on my Snapchat, but I was looking to get some more stuff before on my Instagram and Facebook too.
I mean, are you good with like, is it Facebook Messenger the way to go, or is it, is it cell phone texting?
Facebook Messenger. Facebook Messenger.
You like that better? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll send clips that way, and I'll send you some stuff, and we'll keep on it. And then, like, literally in 3 months, we'll redo it again, and we'll have you put it up another time. And, you know, we're gonna have Football for Life up there, so people can find that, you know, if they want to get involved with that.
Okay.
Did you guys contact Keely? Did Tank give you that information for Keely Radio?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you
Tom
should
Casey.
I'll put that on there too. Is that
I
what
can
you're
get in touch with Crash for you. Me and Tom go way back.
Very good.
Yeah.
Love
That'd be
Tom.
cool.
You should
Yeah, that's
consider,
great.
I mean, you should consider a podcast or getting an hour a week on that show just to put your message out there, because you have an incredibly charismatic voice. You speak well, you speak deeply. And I think the kids just put that in their ear and they're like, okay, you know, they get their little pep talk once a week, like you do, you know,
Yeah.
like you do on in halftime or whatever, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you have a gift. And I think, you know, that to get to the masses, right?
Yeah,
You know,
definitely. Yeah,
Maybe-
I like. I think it was a good first step to, you know, getting more comfortable vocalizing those things. So I
Dude.
appreciate hearing that.
if you need any
Outstanding.
help with the equipment or anything, let me know. We kind of did it on the cheap. I'm using my phone right now, and you know, like
Okay.
it's. I mean, it's nothing big, man. So,
Yeah.
what were you gonna say, Joe?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you get Eriq on Keely, maybe the kids will start listening, because they all told me that only the old people listen to Keely.
I can second that.
I mean, it could almost be like a preacher thing. Like you get on there and you got that preacher vibe, and maybe you're not talking about religion per se, but you're talking about persevering, and you're talking about options, and you're talking about college, and you're talking about football. You're talking about, you know, all this jazz. You know, that like, oh, what the hell is he talking about? Oh, I never heard of that before. You know,
Yeah.
look, literally reaching through the microphone and saying, you are worthy, you know, you are good, you can do this, man. Like I can, you know, I never met you before, and that's the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, geez, this guy needs to broadcast somehow, and maybe it's Instagram or maybe it's whatever, but you know, like these kids got, like, I don't know how many followers you got, but they need to hear it, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. And I will definitely take that in consideration. I've been wanting to do something more like this. I was actually going to mention, I've been thinking about writing a book or doing something in that kind of sense, but I know I felt it for a really long time that there's something that needs to come out. You know what I mean?
Short term, long term, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely a book.
Good deal.
But what can you do now? This is nothing. This is like, we were up and running, you know what I mean? On a wing and a prayer.
Yeah.
So anything you need in that area, let us know, man. We're going to follow, and appreciate your time, man. And I know it's
Thanks
past
a
your
lot,
bedtime.
Eriq. Very cool.
Definitely.
Very
No,
cool.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate y'all. It's been a pleasure.
All right, man.
Joe,
Hey,
thanks so much.
Peace, man.
Well, let me just say one more thing, and it's
Please.
not part of the show, but
Please.
Eriq, you know, if Football for Life could write that check, we definitely write it again for you. But to expand on that little area, you know, Tom is a softball coach. You know, we have connections with all kinds of coaches. We're working to get more funding down here, and we'd love to have like an all sports camp up there. That's like one of my next things. And you mentioned softball. I saw a video the other day that Casey Means put up with a young, you know, probably 12-year-old girl trying to do a fast pitch, you know, with no one coach there. You know, Tom could show him that, you know, and how to work on it and how to teach them that stuff. And, you know, we want to touch as many kids as we can, not only football players, but the girls, you know, you probably know Najoni D, who went to Arizona State. She was the team manager the first year we went up there. And we kind of emphasized to Sam that we wanted to have some girls out there helping. And her little story that she told was to one of my wife and one of the other wives, but she was telling them about going to Arizona State, and she's leaving, you know, in the fall for Arizona State. And my wife told her, hey, you know what? We're really proud of you that you're taking that step. And she told her, no one has ever told me that they are proud of me.
Wow.
And, you know, so guys coming from California, I think that's something that I've always kept. So, you know, I try to say the simplest things to these kids and just encourage them in any way we can.
Well, and on top
hey,
of
we
that,
would love.
Joe, on top of that, Joe, Eriq, I want you to know how committed, you know, we're on board because Joe, you know, has built this dream of his.
Joe's the man
to reach out and with nobody pushing him in any direction at all, finding ways to get this stuff done that he's done so far, and you know, and branch out all over the country here, that we're starting to move around to the reservations and do stuff. And so to know Joe, you know, for us was an opportunity to see, like, wow, somebody really exemplifying what you're talking about, you know, and some of the things you said, just that care and desire with nothing in return. You know, and we're so proud to have been with Joe and watch him. So when he speaks about this stuff, I know how deep it runs. And, you know, and like I said, I'm sure that we're all going to cross paths again, doing some really cool things down the road and being involved a little bit, because it means so much. So again, one more time,
awesome.
thanks a lot, dude. I
right,
will
guys.
look forward to seeing you soon. And and peace out.
Love you, Joe.
All right.
We'll see you later,
See you
buddy.
guys.
Thank you,
All right,
guys.
Thanks,
thanks,
Eriq, man.
guys.
Anything
All
you
right,
need,
man.
buddy.
Take it easy.
Appreciate
Love
it.
you, man. See you.
Later.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.